I just started the recording, so I guess we'll be chill. Uh, so before we move on to the debate, what about hacks? What are we doing for hacks? We're just gonna equalize hacks also, or
Uh, I mean, we can equalize it, but like we have to. I guess we have to like in the debate discuss like what equalizing means. You'll know what
oh,
I mean.
actually, let's go ahead and define that early. What do you mean by equalization? Are we saying that they're going to be the same at base, or are we gonna say they're uh within constant equal?
Um, I don't. I don't know.
Are they equals at
Uh,
constant, or are they equals at base?
I wouldn't know which one works best. Which one do you want to do?
It doesn't really matter. I mean, Galactus has like a lot of comics, so I'd probably just make it easier on you and just say they're equal at constant.
All right, cool. Let's use that then.
Alright, so you want to get started with Galactus?
Me?
Yeah.
So we're on equal stats, so there's no need to go over AP now, luckily.
Yeah,
Woohoo!
yeah, I'm just letting you give a win con to start off. Since
Yeah,
we're
I'm gonna use the best win card. I'm gonna use a Galactus eating win card. He's gonna like eat your character.
okay. So how does he go about doing this?
So Galactus does that by in a way of absorption, like his eating is absorption. He converts anything he wants to into energy, and he's been able to do this to pretty much anything he's encountered, and stated to do even more.
Okay, but is he using it in the way that he picks you up and then eats you, or he has to use his energy to sort of use it as an extension for that ability?
He actually has numerous ways of doing it. So the more common way he used to do it back in the day when they wanted to show him is you usually make a machine to do it for him. And there has been other examples of like different machines, but he can just do it himself as well. Where in one example, someone attacked him and he absorbed the energy that he was attacked with.
Mm-hmm.
So it is really like depends.
Okay, so I have a direct counter to this. Savathûn has absorption as well and can just use her energy also. So she can just start an endless feedback loop of energy absorption between herself and Galactus to just not to make him not want to do it at all.
What you mean, like overfeed him or something?
No, just start like a positive feedback loop so that they can't really kill the other with it mostly.
It wouldn't matter because with the whole like energy absorption, if I can like absorb your stuff, I basically also get your stuff. So then at that point,
Same,
it would
same,
be like,
same with Savathûn. Yes, she's a guardian.
well, that's gonna really make this awkward real quick.
Yes. So if you want to go further, I'm willing to presuppose like far more on this if we want to go that far.
Yeah, let's keep going down this route.
Okay, okay. So Savathûn and Galactus is gonna hit each other and like they're just gonna like equal out whatever power gains they get, I guess, with their bullshittery.
Yes. Well, here's a question: has Savathûn ever used their absorption ability on someone stronger than them?
Actually, now that you mention it, let me go define Guardian absorption. So, Guardian absorption, and this was stated by Callus, so we know he's a good source for context. He mentioned that the Guardian's absorption was like boundless. Now, we both know I'm not really going to make the meme argument with boundless. I'm more so making the argument of boundless, as in there isn't really a technical constraint against people even stronger than the Guardian.
All right, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So it wouldn't even matter from the nature of how it works. Here,
So like,
I'll go get that as a scan because that sounded like a fundamental claim. Here.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
What was it? When you have Savathûn like in the Guardian, do they have the same absorption? Is it a
Yes.
better one? Like I don't remember. I don't have this context
Well,
here, so
no, it's
useful.
that's actually a very good question. So, let me explain it like this. So, the light and dark are not the same as the entities that created them. The traveler and the witness are two very, very different people. The light and dark themselves are just primordial forces. So they're essentially neutral powers. What the MC has might scale differently from what other light bearers have, but largely if we use the MC as the bar, and then Savathûn's potency with the light would be equal to the MC.
Wait, Savathûn is the light, or is the dark, or the dark version at least?
No, actually, do you want a cutscene?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. Here, actually, I have
Where are you
the
posting it?
entirety of Witch Queen dialogue on me.
The entirety? Nah,
Yeah, I
not the
have the
entirety.
whole Witch Queen campaign dialogue. Let me go
I
post it.
don't need the whole thing, my dude.
Well, I know, but there's also there's also chapters in the video that you can skip to.
Yeah. May I ask where you're posting it though, or plan
I'm
to?
just gonna post that in like zone 69 because YOLO.
All right.
Yeah, let me go. Let me go give you a place or where it talks
I
about.
sure hope so. This is an hour 20 minutes. I'm not
Yes,
watching.
it's divided into different missions and there's cutscenes on. Let me go. Where the fuck is this room again? Hold on. Let me go give myself a link to it. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry. I just really don't like going through this place. There's so much to go through. Hold on. Okay. And wow, YouTube is a thing. Yeah, ads. Yeah, that's a nice thing. What is this? The Walking Dead YouTube version? Fuck.
You know, those related ads are meant to relate to the video you're about to watch. Walking Dead, Destiny, totally related.
I know, right? How the fuck would that? Okay, let me go get you. Okay, if you go to 59 minutes and 30 seconds,
All right.
that's the exact time where we see the memory. Now let me explain what's going on in the video. So
Sure.
in the Witch Queen campaign, we go inside Savathûn's throne world. Okay. For the Hive Gods, the throne worlds are their mind. Quite literally, in fact. It's an extension of themselves. It is themselves. They are the world. The world is them. Reality is metaphor. Metaphor is reality. You have to exist as an abstraction in order to exist within a throne, because a throne exists within the ascended plane, even no matter where it moves throughout the multiverse. Because the ascendant space is like a meta space, so it doesn't really matter the distances between worlds in the physical world because they're at the same place within the plane. We have to go inside her throne world, and we have to investigate how to take on Savathûn and how to beat her because she's a strategist. She's known for being trickery itself. Actually, her concept is trickery. I have a scan that just outright proves this.
Wait, you have a scan to summarize everything that I'm about to watch?
Well, I could either go and try to find a transcript. Do you want me to do that?
Oh no, not a manuscript. I thought you said you're about to send a scan that's basically summarizing what I'm watching. That would have been really pointless.
It would
But
have
you know,
been, yeah. Okay, so I'll give an example. Quite literally, Savathûn is trickery itself, but that's not the point here. I'm just
yeah. Don't worry. Don't worry about the trickery point. Don't
yeah,
worry about that.
it's more of an exemplifier of who we're dealing with in Witch Queen. So basically, Savathûn goes into the last city, and she possesses Osiris. Osiris, made a deal with Savathûn. Actually, that was what was revealed later. In one of the books after the release of Witch Queen. Assuming it's accurate, then that's how it happened. But basically, she keeps tricking everyone in the last city, and she's able to devour their ignorance. So,
I mean, that's fine. Galactus got no ignorance.
yeah,
So that's fine.
yeah. This isn't an argument against Galactus, but this is just what's going on in Witch Queen. So,
Yeah, I know.
After you watch the cutscene, it's then revealed that Savathûn was watching everything that the Guardian was doing in the Thorn World. Every thought whispered, everything. Savathûn knows it all. and she remembered who she was before she got the light. So now she has the light. She has all her powers and bullshit.
And that would include the absorption you're going on about.
No, she had the light before. Well, okay, it's like this. So, back in Season of Lost, I know we had that talk before. We made a deal with Savathûn that we'd exercise and worm, and in return she'd help us fight the Black Fleet. What happened at the end of Season of Lost was that Savathûn, after the worm was exercised, like BFR'd her way out of it, and then went in front of the Traveler, as you see in that cutscene. She died because she lost her worm. But what happened was that the Traveler then gave her a ghost. So she was chosen, if you will, by the Traveler. It was at that point was when she came back to life. She was a guardian, just like everybody else, and has guardian powers, just like everybody else.
Okay.
So the absorption that she would have would come from the fact that she's a guardian. Anything related to her high physiology would come after as like a stacking argument.
All right.
Yeah.
So when I asked them, like, did like work on someone strong, who's the stronger person this Hax would have like worked on? Do you know what I mean?
Actually, that is a good question. So, constantly, all the time, we'll just use the fire team as an example. In the final fight against Rolk, it goes like this. So the Guardians have an opposite concept of the sword logic, specifically the light. If Guardians are in a fire team, they become much more powerful than they are individually. But they're still weaker than Rolk individually when they fight Rolk. Let me go and get that particular video. Actually, you see my videos, right?
Yes.
Okay, so in one of those, you see a fight against Rolk, Disciple, the Witness, and you see people just taking his attacks. I'll just appeal to that as an example, to make it easy. Basically, Rolk can fire these death hacks attacks, and the Guardians are able to absorb them. So if we really wanted to like make the extreme argument, like outside of equal stats, then at least a 1s difference they can absorb up to. If we wanted to set like a bare minimum, we can argue anything else for layers after that later.
Yeah. So I just want to say one other thing. When your character like does this absorption, what happens with the energy? Like, so what I mean by that is there are some characters who, when they absorb stuff, get boosts bigger than what they actually absorbed.
Yeah.
Like you know the game Infamous, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that game, the dude like constantly just absorbs energy from like
Cole
the city around him.
He's a conduit.
Yeah.
Same thing with.
Yeah, his actual scaling is like continental to star level, but he's only absorbing the energy of cities. Yeah. So like it matters what like they do with this energy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I completely get what you mean. Yeah. So basically, all we have to do is interact with energy, whether through the light or it's through like direct contact. It doesn't matter. It could be any of the two. As long as our energy in any way interacts with the character we're dealing with, or whatever is an extension of the character, we can essentially begin the absorption. So we don't require direct contact or devouring of the sort that you would think of.
No, sorry. I think you misunderstood my question.
No, I understand. That's the first part. And then the second part is that we take the energy and we kind of just use it as an amp, actually.
So like a linear amp, basically.
Yes.
Like they get the energy what they take.
Well, exponentially linear, but yeah.
Wait, exponential or linear? Which one?
No, exponentially linear. As in, okay, say a Guardian takes a Death Hacks attack from Rolk and they absorb it, they get a Rolk level amp. It's not like some Rolk 1000+ amp. It's like they get a Rolk amp temporarily if they took an.
Oh, so you mean
like the
so what you mean is a constant
nature of it is constantly linear to what the attack is.
So what you mean is a constant exponential amp, as in like it's the same depending on what it uses. Get the same amp twice, you'll get the same exponential twice. Okay.
Yes.
So that's very different to Galactus. Here's a point I think I always bring up. Mm-hmm. Galactus, if like his absorption ability, when he absorbs his own ship, you know, like solar system size, and this was an avatar of Galactus too. He pushed his way into the beyond realm.
Oh.
Yeah, he like
Okay.
I don't know why he never does this in a fight normally, but he does do it in when he's really pushed to. He absorbed his own ship and pushed his way into the Beyond Realm. His
Oh,
absorption,
well, how does it work?
oh, it's huge.
How does it work?
Like, how does it work?
Mm-hmm.
So in this one, what he did is like he wanted to build his like machine to absorb it. The heroes destroyed it. This is in like Secret Wars 1986, I think it is 1987, something like that. And what happens is the machine gets destroyed, and he's like, "Oh, screw it," and just bam absorbs his own ship. And when he does that, he then has enough power to force his way into the Beyond Realm.
Okay. So is he getting a ship level amp, or is he getting an amp exponentially greater than what the ship gave?
So the ship is the size of a solar system, and
Mm-hmm.
no really other context exists. Like there isn't anything noteworthy of it. We do know like the ship itself has some durability feats, but those durability feats are nothing compared to the Beyonder. Like we can spend like an hour
What?
talking about how
What?
Galactus doesn't scale to the Beyonder, but then with
Okay.
this amp he
So so
does.
so so what's the difference that you're arguing here?
So well, okay, think of it this way. You've probably heard it like around before, like Molecule Man in
Mm-hmm.
like Secret Wars 2 just walks around and he's above all the cosmic entities, Galactus included at the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he then, like, even though he's above all these entities, including like Tribunal, Big Boy, um, he then like gets wiped by Beyonder, and he gets wiped so hard that he's like, "Oh, Beyonder is like unimaginable to me. Like Captain America to me,
So
like
an
that's
accessible
nothing."
difference, something like that.
No, way beyond that. Because what
Oh,
difference
yeah.
between Captain America and the Molecule Man? So difference between Captain America and like Living Tribunal was difference between um, Molecule Man and Beyonder. It was insane. It's the best way to say that it's like beyond axiomonic, if
Ah.
you know what I mean.
So it's like an extremely fundamental level of axiom scaling.
It's he didn't just go to like another fundamental level. He went on a fundamental level and like stood relevance in it, which is unbelievable. This is
Uh,
more than like a boom tube. It's way higher.
uh, so 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 basically, he got like an axiomatic power increase, and he managed to stand within the next realm of what we can consider axiom constant within that realm. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, based
Okay.
based on just that like one description. There is obviously a lot more that can be said, but that's like the
Okay.
starter. Yeah,
Okay. We'll use that as a baseline then.
yeah.
I have a response to this.
All right.
So firstly, uh, I have like at least 6 or 7 ways of going about this. I'll use the first one. Savathûn will just use Galactus as a power battery and amp herself to a level above him.
Okay, and
Whatever level Galactus will increase to, she will take that and then increase on the level above him, combined with a few other things I can argue. This is
so
consistent all the time in Destiny. You have characters who are like because the difference you gave is something very similar to Destiny. Actually, that's how we went and fought and killed Oryx. So
yeah, okay. So
yeah.
do you want me to expand upon that, or do you want me to show the lag issue that's happening here?
Where do you think the lag is at?
So when this like whole like circle of abilities happen, like imagine this is a Yu-Gi-Oh match. Our cards are
Mm-hmm.
lighting up. Remember, I initiated this, meaning your character is always catching up to mine.
Oh, I see what you're arguing. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You're the
It,
one
it,
who's the aggressor here. Okay. So yeah.
yeah.
Um. Oh yeah. Definitely. I have another argument then.
All
Well,
right.
I still have a similar argument because Guardians handle this shit all the time. Um. What you described as Galactus being the aggressor, Oryx was the aggressor the entire time in the fight. We had to repel him, and all we did
Yeah.
was just absorb his energy and become greater from it. So at the start, because I'm gonna expand more on what I said. At the start, it's going to be that linear power increase, but then eventually it's going to cause Savathûn to become stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, with that the gaps widening and becoming greater between differences in power increases. So Galactus is going to become stronger, but she's going to use him as a power battery, adapt to him, and then become even stronger than him, and eventually do so at a rate that will eventually surpass him.
So the rate of like eventually surpassing him, that is an extremely big claim.
Yes, it is. Yes.
You probably understand why it is.
Yes, it is.
You know, so I'm gonna have to like respectfully disagree with the whole eventually surpassing, because I know what you're trying to say.
I know
what you're trying to say.
I have a direct argument for this. Savathûn does this actually. What happens is that back in the collapse, the witness, or the god in this case, the witness was going to kill and annihilate everything. But Savathûn is able to wrap deception and shadow around the traveler's existence, so that the witness just believes that Savathûn, or believes Savathûn, and that believes that the traveler was destroyed. So then Savathûn, because she's trickery, managed to get like a power increase from the witness, on like a witness level increase to her own power at the time.
Yes.
So
like, what's the when I like asked like well, the thing I'm trying to ask is, you were saying your character would continuously grow in their rate of change of absorption.
Yes,
like, where's that coming from?
That was another claim I made too. Yeah, but first
that's the claim I was challenging.
Yeah, no, I made two claims though. So I'm being careful not to shotgun here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to the bit I was challenging.
Yeah.
The whole
increase. Let me go bring up the witness lore. You know the witnesses, right?
I can't remember. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a new part of the Destiny scaling that was revealed recently within the Vow of the Disciple rate. First, you have the gods and all that, like among the Vex and the Hive and the emperors of the various races. But then you have the disciples of the Witness. See the sword logic. It's not just one power. It's multiple, in fact. There are levels of axiom scaling here that would be proportional to what you're arguing here. Actually, that was a difference between the MC and Rolk from like the start of the Witch Queen campaign, and eventually the main character managed to like adapt and become stronger on a level beyond Rolk by the end of the raid and after. By the time we managed to create the exotic glaive.
Okay. So what you're basically, so when you try and like pinpoint where in that the rate of change increased.
Mm-hmm.
If you get what I'm like asking.
Yeah, but that's also like a separate claim. Let me go prove that in a second. First, here's the parasite lore. So that we went on a quest to get the gun, but the gun itself doesn't matter. It's Savathûn's worm who's within the gun. Hold on. Let me go find this one also. The problem is
Read up on the parasite.
The problem is most of the time, Ishtar Collective doesn't have the newer lore until later, so I'll have to go and get it myself. Parasite. See the reason why it sounds sketchy right now is because I made two claims, so I'm having to prove both the claims, just so that like there isn't like a power difference between the two. So like that's why it kind of sounds a little odd currently. Hold on.
I'm just reading up on your parasite you've like posted.
Yeah.
You know, get up to speed.
Yeah. Now let me go. Okay, so I have another video for you.
Please don't be an hour long. 24 minutes. That's better.
Yeah, now go to the 20-minute mark. Specifically 20
20
minutes and like 15 seconds. This is just talking about Savathûn tricking the witness.
All right.
Now, the other claim I made about the rate of power growth. I'm going to prove that one next. So, what do you remember about... do you remember how we fought Atheon? Did you ever hear that particular fight?
I don't even know who Savathûn is. Don't know who that is.
So Atheon is now this is like big bad number one. So Atheon is essentially time itself. Atheon was going to like massively annihilate the entirety of the fire team, but couldn't because the fire team managed to resist Atheon's attacks through the light. I'm bringing up Atheon because I'm going to bring up something else next. So, the Vex, they passively grow in power. This is at the very bottom I'm starting from, mind you. They go from like a 3.4 to a 3.5 to like a 3.6, infinitely going on, ad infinitum, right? You have like you have a beyond infinite dimensional amount of Vex. These Vex interact with each other through the various infinite realities, and then they can go to the various different timelines also interact with each other. So they're constantly adding more and more and more information to the collective and become stronger as a result of their infinity. Now, where the light comes in, is the Vex are unable to understand or comprehend the light.
Okay.
So the light is able to do something very similar. And at this point, with how strong the MC is, what you simply argue, the MC would be getting those passive power growths in power throughout the entirety of the Witch Queen campaign, continuously, infinitely, endlessly. Even if you wouldn't want, even if you disagreed with it being exactly the same, it'd still be progressively getting to, and then eventually arriving at that point for the MC by the end of the Witch Queen campaign.
So I got like quite a big issue with that. Your like passive progression, right? You've got your passive progression. I'm gonna just assume, like, it's probably a fair assumption. The passive progression was relative to how strong you are. Otherwise, it would become irrelevant very quickly. So like it'd got to be relevant to how strong you are, right? And it's constantly happening. So when like you're saying the absorption plus this will make you much stronger. But as we said earlier, we're in a loop. Meaning that if you are getting your passive like boosts, I'm getting your passive boosts.
Mm-hmm. But see, it's like this. Galactus is the aggressor, and the Guardians have done something similar to this before, where they were the defender, and still managed to be the aggressor. And then you add on that even though they're in this loop, eventually Savathûn is going to be up to Galactus equally within this loop, and then is eventually either going to surpass him or they're going to remain at the same. Because the point here is that even though they're within that loop, they're just going to keep going up and up in that loop. And they're still just going to be equal to each other more often than they'd be different from each other. Because the aggressive power growth, along with like 5 or 6 other things going on for Savathûn that she can use on Galactus. With her trickery.
Wait, can I do you mind if I do like a mathematical example here?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna put G for Galactus. I'm gonna put Savathûn. Do you want me to put an S? What would you like me to put for him?
It doesn't really matter. You could use a Q, you could use a Y, you could use a 1. Doesn't really matter.
I will not use a 1 to represent a person when I'm gonna put numbers.
Do whatever you want, really.
I'll put a Q because that was the first thing you said. So they both start off equal as this stands. So turn 1, we discussed that the initial like Galactus be higher. So I'd say like Galactus would be it could be any arbitrary amount. I'll just say Galactus absorbs your energy to get 10 times your boost. So that would make G equal 1 plus 10. That's 11, right? Nice and easy. You, as your response, you'd stay at 1 first. Then you would respond doing your absorption, and you would go up to 12, right?
Well,
So you would
he
surpass
keeps
me.
going, and then like the Galactus would be a 10, would absorb the 12, it could be like a 240, and then Savathûn would be absorbing that, becoming a 5,000 or whatever. But then what would happen
Yeah,
after
so
that was that Savathûn would start tossing on her other power increases that the loop wouldn't extend to, which I can also get
why
into.
wouldn't it? Remember, if so, Savathûn's getting these boosts. Remember, they're getting them from themselves. So if you
No,
like,
no,
I just
no. From how her power works, she's only getting it from Galactus. It's specifically Galactus.
Hey, 1 second. So the point I'm trying to make, I'll just like post this real quick, like using the guidelines like set. You can add your other boosts and stuff if you want, but the point being is each time Galactus gets a boost, his one's bigger.
Yeah,
Therefore,
so
he can always capitalize on it.
And so is Savathûn's. Now, okay, here's the thing. Oryx did the very same thing that you're describing Galactus to have done. What happened in Destiny 2, or not Destiny 2, but Destiny the Taken King, was that Oryx had like this massive fucking grudge against us for like the entirety of the campaign, and we fought him twice. The first time we beat him, but he's already adapted to the MC, and nothing we had really worked on him other than outright physical combat whenever he fought his trash physical body. So he's already adapted. So he's already adapted to the MC before their second fight. Now for the second fight, it happens in Oryx's throne world, and it's very specific. Oryx's embodiment is sword logic itself. That means you participating in combat, whether by hurting him or by trying to trade power with him or trade blows with him, that's making him stronger. He started off the fight. He was the aggressor. We participated in the sword logic. He got those same amps just as we were getting those amps. We were in a positive feedback loop against Oryx. That's how it went the entire time. We were trading the domain of power. For the entire battle, and then Oryx constantly surpasses the fire team. But what ends up happening is that we then channel the law of the light against Oryx, and the law of the light is that as long as that there is light, there shall be no darkness. That was how then we eventually surpassed Oryx, and we did this 4 times in the fight. So this is something that all Guardians can do, whether they're human, awoken, hive, doesn't matter. You can be the aggressor and get those amps, and you could still argue that to be stronger, but how it turned out is that the Guardian was stronger at the end every time. So the calculation you're arguing wouldn't fully apply here, because
let me explain real quick why it does. So let me just explain real quick why it does. So Oryx, in your own words, right? Oryx gets stronger the more you try and fight him. You fight him, you make him stronger. That's how it works, right?
Yes, a feedback.
So, yes, a feedback loop. But it's relative to what you're fighting at, to relative to how much he gets his boost. Well, it's not this massive amount.
Well, no. There's 2 parts here. First off, we already fought Oryx, but it was his physical trash body. We fought his physical trash body, and we sent it back to the throne world. But whenever we went and fought Oryx, the power gain was temporary, specifically because of the sword logic, but it was how the light was controlling the sword logic in order to do that very thing I'm describing. It was potent to such a degree that even the witness was watching the battle. And that they were garbage at the time. Complete and utter garbage.
So, also, I just want to notice one other thing. I'm not sure if you noticed this, nothing, but you kind of just said the Guardians have a faster rate anyway. I'm not sure if you noticed you did that.
Yes. It's a very odd claim, but it's well, actually, let me just go and get the Oryx boss fight. Okay, so first.
I know.
Hold on.
Should I just explain like the little issue you had there? I'm not sure if
it sounds completely odd. And I'm gonna drop evidence for what I mean, but go ahead and get what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. So you were saying like the Guardians fought like his trashy avatar, his physical body that he's put outside the throne world, and then later on fought him in his throne world where all this like looping and stuff happens, the positive feedback loop.
Yeah,
But
but
the
see,
issue is
but see, at this point, Oryx is already a massive step ahead of the character in terms of power. But by at least like a high universal difference if we wanted to like avoid the 1S arguments. But
yeah, yeah,
but
it won't matter too much.
go ahead and continue though.
Yeah, but so the reason why I'm like saying this is they both can be increasing in power. Yours can just be naturally faster and the same result would happen. This doesn't imply at all that your rate of change itself is growing. You're just saying that your rate of change was bigger than his in the first place.
Well, because sorry, I'm actually kind of tired still, but no, that is a good question. So, uh, the reason why the argument sounds odd is because this very same situation that we're getting into with the power absorption has already happened, and that the result of it what happened opposite to how you thought it would go.
So I'm sorry, can you say that argument again?
Hold on, let me fix my. Hold on, let me fix my mic. Try talking real quick.
All right.
Try talking real quick. No, that's not working. Try talking now.
Just say when you're ready, okay?
Okay. Now I'm ready. Go ahead.
No. I was asking could you say when you're ready? Because I asked you, could you repeat your argument? I didn't get all of it.
So you know that calculation that you dropped?
Yes.
If we took that to be true, and then Oryx should have beat the fire team, yet he didn't.
That's not the analogy that I gave a second ago. Because when I responded with the point of, it just sounds like the Guardians had a faster rate of growth.
Well,
you said a response that I didn't process, and that's why I was asking you to repeat the response to that.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's your argument. So you're arguing at specifically the process. It's not specifically the process. I'm just setting the guideline of where they're at this point, and then I'm arguing what happened with Oryx to show why your contention would be a contention that wouldn't exactly sit with something of this particular situation. So it's not
Okay, so it doesn't sound
it's
like
not the power growth actually. I use that as a baseline just to show that Oryx could like was beyond a one shot difference above them and did the very same thing you described.
I just want to say, well, you said a second ago high alpha difference. I think the one shot is not what we're talking about. Like, come on, way bigger than that.
I know, but like saying like 500 billion thousand levels of 1S scaling later difference. It's a fucking mouthful.
Yeah.
You
The point the point I was trying to make a second ago was just like a feedback loop and everything was like we said at the start that you'll be lagging behind, and then I was pointing out that despite lagging behind, you can go above such and such. That's the point of the calculation.
Right. And I wouldn't just go above, but eventually I would stay equal. I'm not arguing that I'm going to one shot your character to be stronger. I'm saying Savathûn is going to just remain equal throughout the entirety of their power growth, essentially their feedback loop, because this very same situation that you described to happen, because literally just because she's a guardian, guardians have this particular method of scaling. They can match up with characters who would be able to one shot them anyway. In the feedback loop, the feedback loop happens all the time within the logic of the sword. Even against
it happens with characters who don't have the characters that don't get the boost this big from a source that small. So this because your characters are getting boosts from other characters that are their level. My guy ate a solar system and could fight the Beyonder.
Okay. And
so the source material compared to the end result is so much larger that if I had your source material, I could do so much better.
Right.
And that's why the whole lagging thing makes a big difference because
right.
I'm capitalizing on a bigger jump.
Okay. So I understand that argument, but we weren't getting a direct power increase from Oryx when we fought Oryx. I was just showing that our power progression, even though it was far lower than his, still allowed us to match up with him.
Yeah. That was like me
No,
going into the
okay.
details of that specific
Yeah.
example.
Hold on. You're saying you'd be far ahead still. I'm saying this same exact situation that you talked about. Yes, the very same thing you talked about. We have something in place of that for Oryx. First, he adapted to the MC. Second, he was within his throne world. And three, he was constantly devouring from the tithe system.
Yes.
And then the same Oryx that was devouring from the tithe system challenged the Guardians to a game of sword logic. And even though the Guardians in this case were weaker than Oryx, the feedback loop of Oryx being stronger than the Guardian remained the same, even though we fought him. But we still managed to get to his level and remain equal to him. So you're saying Galactus is going to have greater jumps? I'm saying Savathûn, because of how the way Guardians work fundamentally, is simply going to ignore those jumps as power increases and will remain equal to him because of the way that the light and dark work. They use other characters as batteries all the time and do feedback loops that you described as the same all the time. Every character in Destiny has the demiurge. It's not just one specific character. Everyone has the demiurge. Actually, something that you described is in fact a universal mechanic.
So
That's
I'm not gonna question whether or not that's like universal mechanic stuff like that. I think my point, what I'm trying to say, is like sort of come across of like I think the boost is bigger. I also think you're misinterpreting the numbers a little bit.
No,
So if
no.
you check again on the numbers thing, if you
The
look
numbers
between each turn,
themselves, the numbers themselves don't matter because the point you're
yeah,
trying to
no,
argue
but
is that you're gonna have greater jumps because of the way that you work. Like you eat a ship or like a solar system or whatever, and like you can go and fight the Beyonder and crap.
yeah. So
I'm saying that the Hive do something similar. They eat from the tithe system and they become far greater than what they were previously. This is nothing new.
okay, so the point I'm trying to make right now, if you look back on the number system between each turn, I was changing who was absorbing who. So if you notice, half of them you were higher, half of them I was higher.
Right.
The point of it was each time I was higher, the difference was bigger, and that's what the whole like capitalization's about.
I know. I got into the same exact situation of Niotic. I know. So the
It
argument.
doesn't sound like it.
No, because the argument's the same here. Hold on. Let me go and get this floor. See which one is it? Now, now I'm gonna give you some extra context. Here.
All right, just waiting for you.
What you said the same about a starship devouring a solar system. Oryx did the same. He devoured. He essentially devoured himself with the power to take, so that he could return back to his full power.
So he devoured himself to go above himself, basically.
Yes.
That's what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Okay. So remember, like the whole source material, and Oryx source material is Oryx, which I think we can agree Oryx is beyond solar. Like that's not a question here.
No. But the point isn't the scaling itself. Is that I have something that would quantify technically as the same because of how it works in Destiny. It's not. It's not specifically the material itself. You're interpreting it as me not addressing your argument somewhat. But I'm saying we have enough material here from Destiny to give the suggestion, or at least indication, that characters in Destiny do the exact same thing. They get random power increases from smaller things, and depending on the item, obviously, just as it would depend in Marvel, they get those same exact insane power increases. Yes, they do.
All right, so you just to like correct something. You thought I wasn't addressing your point. I was, but I was trying to address a different part of your point there.
No,
So you said
I know you were addressing the point, but I'm trying to show you that the same happens in Destiny constantly.
I know what you're trying to say. I think you've said it quite clearly.
Okay. Okay,
but yeah,
do I sound like a broken record? Do I sound like I'm not a
no, you don't sound like a broken record. You sound like someone who's trying to like pin a point down.
Okay.
So it's fine. Don't worry about it. So a thing I was trying to say is, so when I say Auric's source material is greater, I meant like his source material scaled to himself because it was himself. That's what I was trying to say.
Right, but then I also dropped something else talking about Savathûn tricking the witness.
Sorry, where's that? You've posted a few things.
Okay, so
I'm gonna repost that one today. It's just easy to find.
even better, I'll just link it.
All right.
So that very same difference you want to talk about between what was trash to the Beyonder, and the Beyonder, we have something of a similar purport. Destiny gets these kind of power increases all the time. I even said where to go in that video, which is 20 minutes and 15 seconds. This is just to show that Savathûn is able to still interact with characters in the same situation that you put yourself in, with being greater whenever his turn tends to come up in the loop.
I'm just going over this again because what you're saying now seems different to what happened last time I watched this.
Well, firstly, what's happening here was that what was happening is that Savathûn's worm described what Savathûn did in the collapse, which was channel her power against the witness and manage to succeed. So I'm not using source material to Oryx as an argument. I'm using this as an example for Savathûn, because Savathûn interacts with source material much greater than herself.
I mean, I'd hope so. Otherwise, this loop wouldn't be able to happen. Like, this loop would not be able to happen if you couldn't interact with something greater. Because that means stage 1, I'm stronger, and that's it. So I really hope your character can interact with something stronger.
Yeah, she can. In fact, that's why like Earth is still around currently in Destiny.
All right, cool. That was something that I assumed, but it's good to know that it was true.
Yeah.
That would have been really awkward.
Well, okay. Now I'm going to bring up something I told you earlier about the exponential linear power increases. I was referring to that.
You mean constant exponential?
Right. But the point was, I was referring to that as in we'd have to specify in the source, but we can argue the linear increase, and then I gave the example with Rolk and the MC.
Yes, okay.
And then also I'll give another argument if you want like another argument after this for that very same situation.
I mean, sure, because okay. Do you want to say your other argument, or should I sort of have a bit of a go at you for the exponential linear bit?
Go ahead.
Because I'm not sure if you know how bad exponential linear actually is.
No. I know how it works, but I was giving Rolk versus the MC as an example because they're only human. Savathûn is a hive who's a guardian, so the biology here would be very different. Even if you want to have a go on it, you'd only be able to succeed against arguing against the MC.
No, I'm having a go at the whole So, if you don't mind me asking, this might sound a bit rude, but can you define exponential linear?
Well,
like, or how it should be said is just
I'm gonna define it for Destiny because I don't want to sound like a retard. So
yeah, go ahead.
So the exponential means you'd be getting an increase greater than, and then linear would be from like an A to B. You'd expect the connection from A to B because it's linear in scale, right? So this linear scale then becomes exponentially greater and wider. So what's linear would be exponentially greater than what was the linear difference before.
Okay. So I'll just like sort of go. I'll say what exponential like really is, and then you can like redefine it if it doesn't fit correctly for you.
That's why I defined it for Destiny, so we didn't.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But the reason why is I think I'm not sure if you know quite the limitation of exponential. There is a lot of things far beyond exponential. Like
yes.
Exponential's got I've done some stuff before where exponential looks slow. Yes. So it really does matter.
Yes, it will.
So this one here. I put down a quick example of just 3 different things, and then I'll explain the example afterwards. Don't worry about it. All right. Sorry if it takes a little while.
It's all right. I only went over 2/3 of my argument anyway. The
Oh
last
yeah, don't
part,
worry about it.
yeah, the last part of it's gonna make sense for why I said keep up.
All right. So you see what I said there? What I recently put there. It's just an exponential function of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But so if you notice, the function is so it's basically 2 to the power of x,
Yeah.
and the difference between each result of a, whenever we go up by 1, is 2 times. So we're going up proportionally by how much our like function is, how much the 2 times is. Therefore, it's exponential because you can clearly see 284. That's not linear, nowhere near linear.
Yeah.
But our multiplier is based on our base function, which was 2. So it is proportional to what you already have, and that's how like exponential works. So when you're saying exponential, can you like clarify what you mean a bit better? Because otherwise, this right here sounds quite slow to something else. I can put many examples for.
Yeah. Well, I'll give an example for numbers, because I gave an example earlier for the vex. So I'll go back to the vex, and this is at the very, 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 very bottom here. But and then I'll scale the light and everything past it. Cause see, everything else with like the greater seasons and the greater DLC kind of just adds more and more and more and more differences within the scaling. So it's gonna sound very weak because it's at the like one of the weakest parts of the scaling. But so the vex go from like a 3.2 to like a 3.3 to like a 3.4 and a 3.5.
Yes,
Now
I remember you this.
now going back to the light. It's obviously the difference is far greater, but I'm not gonna say a mouthful here. But then the light is something the Vex are unable to actually comprehend at all and assimilate. It's at the barest minimum inaccessible to them. So then, what you would be describing here, the light already surpasses. Because
Yeah. Okay. So
now going even further, uh, the paracausal scaling doesn't go by the laws of nature that you're describing. It sort of only goes by the rules of what the user wants. It means the power increases would be how the user would want it, but you'd have to scale it against another paracausal entity in order to define the increase that the user of their power got from fighting the opposite character. So now let's go back to the loop that you talked about. In the loop, you're sort of thinking of it in a vein where Savathûn has to follow the rules of the loop. She doesn't. Uh, I'm gonna get into the final third of my argument now. Uh, so with Savathûn, uh, as we go out, as we go throughout the loop, Savathûn can adapt to the loop itself, not Galactus, but the loop, because the loop would dictate that Galactus would be stronger than her. So she would be able to use trickery, uh, or Embaru specifically because she's Embaru now. She would use Embaru in order to maintain a connection to the loop and just overcome any differences Galactus would have over her in a functioning loop without difference.
I gotta ask this question. This might be like really funny, but what would happen if that loop is like that possibility was removed? Like, what if Galactus gets to the point where your like entire like equaling the loop or like equaling the peak of the loop just can't happen? What if that possibility don't exist?
Well, that very same possibility happened with Savathûn and the Witness, but she managed to trick the Witness anyhow, so she wouldn't care very much.
So your character was able to do this when that possibility exists. So what if the possibility does not exist?
The possibility wouldn't even exist with the Witness, yet it happened with Savathûn anyway.
Why wouldn't sorry, stumbling on my words there. Why wouldn't it exist with the witness?
Because of the sword logic and that the Witness uh Well, it's like this. So paracausal energy, it kind of dictates its own rules along with what's possible and what's not possible. The witness would be taken itself, essentially. Because what you described is something that the witness can already do. Hold on, let me go get some lore for the witness. Let's see. Let's see. Hold on, can you re-ask the question? Sorry, I'm having a brain fart here. Oh yeah, that's right. Osmiomancy. Sorry. Osmiomancy. Fundamentally, the sword logic would remove possibility. So the very same thing you'd be describing is something the sword logic would do.
Yeah. So I'm gonna read through this, see if I can find where it can be used without the possibility existing.
Okay, so well, I'm going to go over the first paragraph here for you. Possibility, it exists within each life and expands in myriad complexity explored openly through the philosophical constructs of choice and free will. Even when life ends, possibility carries forward in the lives touched and projects created. When the actions of another end a life, humans often refer to this act as killing or taking a life. But where killing brings about a singular conclusion, Oryx's taking was quite the opposite. He imposed a singular origin in all decisions that followed. He shaped the causality, the very history of another being, by force of will, recasting it into fanatical loyalty. In short, possibility never existed. So this is just for Oryx's version of the taking.
Yeah, okay.
The witness has a level far, far, far beyond that.
Okay, so let me just like this is gonna be like I'm gonna try to attack this real hard because if in the very description it doesn't talk about possibility not existing. What it talks about is all possibilities leading to the same result. That's what it's talking about.
Right.
It's like if you may give it like this analogy, imagine you throw a dartboard and there's a possibility of you hitting any number. The chance of you getting a number greater than 1 is 100%. So the possibilities all lead to the same outcome when you hit the dartboard. That's not the same as removing a possibility. That's just dictating the outcomes to be the same.
Okay.
It's
So,
more or less.
no,
It's
no,
not
no,
a
no.
possibility that
But
doesn't
I
exist.
said
Its choice doesn't exist.
okay, but I said that was Oryx's variation.
All right.
Now
So
let me go and
what's
get to the
Savathûn
witness's variation of the ability.
or the witness? Sorry.
Yeah. Uh, let's see. Tablets of ruin, riddle. First, let me go drop something talking about the witness having a greater level of power. Uh, than Oryx's version. Let me save this as
So
reference.
okay, why would greater level of power mean you'd be able to do a hack that Oryx couldn't do? Because Oryx's hacks
Because
works
the sword
differently.
logic is not an encompassment of one power; it's an encompassment of many different powers of the dark. Uh,
Now that just says you could gain an ability. It doesn't say you'd gain this one or how.
well, because the witness has a very different level of power, and she can do very different attacks with her power.
So that's kind of like your first argument I asked you just a second ago. I asked why would greater power give like new ability? That was the first thing I attacked.
Okay. So, no, that's because Oryx's version of taking is limited to that restraint. The witness, because she's far greater than Oryx, has no such limitations. Hold on, let me see. This is the cutscene. There's a few other scans I'm fine with dropping. Uh,
Okay.
to explain this.
By the way, is Savathûn above the witness? I don't know like where Savathûn is. I know it's above Orcs. You told me that before. But like, is Savathûn above the witness?
the witness is above everything else currently.
Ah, okay.
Well, it's like this. Where they're at one point, quite literally, when they take a step forward, they're at a different level of power at like a certain point. So how I like to quantify the characters is going by the DLCs. Because all paracausal users just inherently get power increases far greater than what they had previously. So the witness and the collapse would be like very, 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 very different than the witness we'd be describing during the collapse. But now let me go get a different skin.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a brother. Damn. I'm not just reading. No, well, I'm watching a video.
Yeah. Let's see. Not releases. Where's books? Here we go. Shadow Keep. Unveiling. Okay. So possibility wouldn't exist because okay, here's another thing I'm talking about. So do you know who the gods of destiny are?
Probably not.
Okay, they're the gardener and the winnower. The gardener and the winnower created everything. So essentially what they did is that they created this thing called the flower game. In the flower game, hold on.
Did you cut out?
No, I didn't. In the
Oh,
flower
sorry.
game, they essentially dictated how it would go. They let it play out and it went how it went every time. Because they themselves dictated that rule. The witness specifically is either a servant of, an extension of, or a body of the winnower. We weren't quite told which of the three it is yet, but it leads to the same conclusion that there is a connection to the winnower somewhere in there.
Okay, so like you just like upscaling from like the witness using the gods, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it
Yeah.
matters because the witness was directly tricked by Savathûn. So now I have to explain more about the witness.
Yeah. By the way, I went through that cutscene. And I was watching it. They did mention in the cutscene that what's it? Orcs is it a sister or another brother? It looks like a girl, so I'm assuming it's a girl.
So in the Osmium throne, you have the three siblings. You have the explorer, which is Oryx. You have the witch, which is Savathûn, and you have the general, which is Zivu-Raf.
Okay, so guessing it's the witch then, Savathûn,
Yes.
sister, that thing.
Savathûn
So
is the sister. Yes.
but anyway, in the skin, they mentioned that, oh, yeah, Orcs had his limit, such and such, like that said. They mentioned the Wish could do things Oryx couldn't. And it mentioned them in relation to the throne world and did not go any further.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see the possibilities like coming in, sadly.
Oh, no.
Like I was getting excited and then
Oh,
limited.
no.
So.
Now I have to define more about the witness here. So, first, Oryx had particular limitations with his power, such as he only could use his full power in a throne world. Someone like the witness, they have no such limitations here. But now I'm going back to the gardener and the winnower, which is the key point here. The gardener and the winnower, they existed before everything else. There, no possibility, no existence, nothing. They existed before it. Inherently, their existences would transcend the very concept of possibility or anything related to it.
Okay. But you're saying the concept of possibility.
They themselves are ontological dynamics.
So you say the concept of possibility, but the concept of possibility is irrelevant to what we're talking about because we're far beyond those type of things.
Well, I know.
I'm not removing.
I know, but you're trying to argue the removal of such possibility for someone like Savathûn, and I'm saying
No.
I'm
sorry.
saying...
Let me just say what my argument is because I think we're getting a bit lost. The argument was, so we're talking about the infinite loop with it, like you reaching like a peak bit where they equal out because Guardian, Savathûn done that before. Mm-hmm. But what I'm trying to say is, what if that possibility doesn't exist? what would happen then?
The
And
possibility.
what you're showing me is like surpassing the concept of possibility. Sure, that's like cute to someone who's like one S. Like that's cute.
No, the concept of possibility. No, I was applying that here.
Never say 1S again. I hate you.
I know, right?
You said it first. Shut up.
Actually, I didn't want to fall into a trap. What do you mean by the possibility doesn't exist?
Galactus can take that away from you.
Yeah, he can take possibility away.
He can take all of them away. So the power cosmic, which is Galactus's, was shown by a lesser being, which was Silver Surfer at the time, making Neverqueen, who embodies all possibilities of eternity, which includes Galactus himself, and turned them into a monkey. And by a monkey, I mean like one of those toy-like clapping ones, like a monkey bomb from Black Ops 2.
Yeah.
So when I say removing possibility, I literally mean possibilities that would contain that very axiom that you require.
Yeah.
So what would happen if that possibility does not exist?
Well, that's the same thing for the Gardener and the Winnower, because you're sort of just describing them at that point. Passively, the Light and Dark would do something of a similar purport. They would remove possibilities within the game of possibility and create new possibilities because they can both cancel out possibility.
So, okay, create new possibilities, sure. But, like, where do you create a new possibility?
Well, now
so where would you create a new
here between the Winnower and everything else? So, you know, I had talked about the Demiurge.
Actually, you haven't talked about the Demiurge so far in this like discussion. Do you mean a past one?
Okay. So here's what happened. The very same thing that you're talking about, the Gardener and the Winnower, they both can do. But what happened at some point in the lore? Let me go find that particular one.
Let's make this like the last.
I'm trying to find a scan here. Hold on.
No. Go ahead. But what I'm just saying is, let's make this your last point. Both of us say like one thing afterwards, you know, and then we can like let the people in the VC judge it. Like if you want to say more, do say so, obviously.
Okay.
But I was thinking people in VC have been going on about this one point the whole time. They're probably getting annoyed of us.
Well, it probably sounds annoying because we have a lot to use to sort of just gain on the other.
I guess worse was the people who don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, I know. Let's see. So you know how you talked about them being the possibilities of possibilities? How Galactus can remove that?
No, I didn't say possibilities of possibilities. I said the possibilities of like that axiom existing, like that possibility and that outcome.
Yeah, that very thing. The Gardener and the Winnower can do something similar. They create possibility. Actually, there's a contradiction between Savathûn and Galactus here. I'm finally getting into because now I brought up the Demiurge.
Okay.
So the Demiurge, the Gardener and the Winnower's power. See, they fought, and because of their fight, they created everything. But like kind of the way Marvel works and how everything can do their kind of thing, even though it wouldn't make sense even for Marvel terms, the same thing sort of happened for Destiny, except it was done through a universal mechanic that the darkness can use. Actually, it's inherently passive within the user of darkness. But this particular ability comes from something of the Demiurge. The Demiurge is an ability assigned to every race. Every race creates possibility. They defy the very axiom that contains all of those. They completely and utterly defy it. And then you add on the light and dark, which can create even more possibilities and ignore the axiom of possibility on top of that for specifically paracausal characters.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
See, what I'm saying here is you're talking about like the axiom of possibility and being able to remove everything associated with it. I'm saying the Demiurge can either just outright negate it because of the creation of possibility, or Savathûn can resist it because she can do the same. and paracausal characters can resist paracausal characters. You just have to resist the paracausal character in order to resist their hacks. That's how it works.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
So I just asked this like real quick. So the light and darkness gods, they're above everything else in Destiny, right?
Yes. The witness,
Yes.
everything I just described to you is a complete and utter joke to like even the 9. The 9 are a complete and utter joke to the Garden. The Gardening came after the Winnower and the Gardener.
Yeah, I remember them. So the reason why I ask is like the whole light gods bit I mentioned just then. So if possibility didn't exist for either of them, how would your characters be able to do anything?
Because they create possibility.
So, okay, here's another thing about possibility that's a really like important thing to discover.
Yes.
So you know, like the multiverse theory, like I'll just get a picture like many worlds theory because it just helps from what I'm about to say. So
Go
like,
ahead and
give me
describe
one. Yeah. So when you have like, I'll get the image up because it will help what I'm about to say. Dub. Please load faster, internet. All right, cool. So, why am I no longer looking at scan zone? God damn it. Scan zone 69. So yeah, look, here's an image of like many worlds theory, okay? Like very, very simple. I think no one's gonna like question many worlds theory. But the point I'm trying to say here is a lot of possibilities require something you to branch off or for there a possibility to exist before you can have a new one. So whenever your characters and gods are creating a possibility, they are currently existing with a possibility to branch off in the first place. Galactus can remove all of it, including your origin point. You don't have somewhere to branch off.
Yeah,
Got no seed, got no branches.
Yeah, and the Witness has like the very same ability that the Winnower does, which is greater than Oryx's, which has no such limitations. The Witness removes possibility also. What happens is, and every timeline...
You show the Witness one.
Well, actually, yeah, I can't explain it. So, in every timeline, the darkness wins. The only timeline that it doesn't happen in is in the timeline of Destiny that we're discussing. The reason for that is because paracausal can create possibility of what it wants. Something on the sort of an axiom of possibility. They're beyond such axioms in the first place. They can create possibility from how they wish. And the reason it scales out is because the world exists because of the Winnower and the Gardener, and the light and dark stabilize each other because of the nature of how their powers work. You cannot have light without dark, just as you cannot have dark without light. They exist within a duality of each other. Because of that, balance is then maintained. So what I'm describing, there's also many different variations of what I'm describing. The Witness has one of the highest levels, which is a lower level compared to what the Winnower has. So you saying that Galactus could just remove that, that's something the Witness does around Savathûn just by breathing. And even though this happened around Savathûn, because she is also a user of darkness, she is able to use trickery because of the ignorance of the Witness. So she's still able to defy it.
Okay, so let me just like, there's a few things. I'll just say like the quick, like easy one that, you know, context of being able to do it to the Witness who you have higher. But even bigger than that, you showed me this whole possibility of the Witness. So you tried to show me Oryx earlier, and it turns out he was getting rid of choice, not possibility.
Well, yeah.
So could you show me?
I was showing you the extent for specifically Oryx. Now I have to go and find other shit for possibility.
Yeah, because I was gonna say Oryx doesn't actually have that. He has something different. He removes choice.
That's like Origin Manip, I think.
Well, no, it's not Origin Manip. He has he's dictating outcomes. It's more of like fate, really.
It's stated by like what is it called? I'm not really sure what to fully define that as, but it's to show you that Oryx has like a limitation of it.
I think it's fate because what you do is you don't dictate how the outcome happens, just that it happens. It's like you're not restricting the possibilities of what happened along the way. You're just making sure that you always hit the bullseye. You can throw it between your legs, over the head,
Yeah,
throw it at some random dude.
yeah, but now I'm kind of tossing an argument or two on the witness. So now I need to
you
find something for
I'm
the
trying
witness.
to like. So I'm just trying to find like a actual like possibility thing. It's
No, I'm trying to find some more possibility stuff. There's some stuff on it somewhere on Ishtar Collective. Hold on.
one moment. Just gotta say something real quick. Yeah, I'll be right back.
Okay, so now let me go and find.
So,
What's up? Okay.
anybody want to line up the mood?
Oh no, we're alright. Okay. Here's something that I think you're looking for here.
And I'm back. Sorry about that.
No, it's
Oh, okay.
Okay. Here's something I think you're looking up here. I think I dropped it earlier, but this is talking about the final shape.
Why is it whenever I look away, I'm no longer on the scan zone? God damn it. Sorry if you just wait a moment.
So now I'm gonna get into part of the winnower and the gardener. So the gardener. Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. I'll just say while you talk, I'll be reading this.
Is Kkrimbus quiet for you guys too?
Well, I'm not quiet.
Okay, there we go.
He's not quiet.
Okay, so you know how you talked about the axiom of possibility?
I talked about our axiom of possibility.
Right, our axiom of possibility.
Yes.
The scaling that you attached for it for Galactus, the gardener and the winnower can dictate it through them being principles of ontological dynamics. They can dictate possibility through their existence as ontological dynamics.
So okay, I gotta ask this real quick. Do you think the whole loop that our characters like go through that you require to like equalize? Remember, it's like your entire point is that I'm ahead, but you can use this to equalize. That's the point. Do you think that loop is above our characters inherently? Like, it has to be above our characters, otherwise our characters upscale it, right? So our loop is above our characters inherently.
They should be, yes. That's why That's why I specifically brought up the witness and why I'm having to define the witness.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you think this loop would be above the witness?
The witness would have something of a different passive loop above this.
Okay. So, does the witness ever affect the possibility of this loop on that level? Also, I just looked at the thing and I still didn't see it.
Did you check the final shape?
Yeah, so in the final shape, they are. It says, I'll just read out the quotes in quotes. That's nice and nice.
Are you talking about the second bottom one?
No, I'm talking about the bottom one,
not
the second bottom one. The actual bottom one. So every game we play, this one pattern consumes all others, wipes out everything. No, wipes out every interesting development. A stupid, boring exploit that cuts off entire possibility spaces from ever arising. There's so much we'll never get to see because of this pest.
So
like, what is this? What is this spaces?
Oh shit! This better not be what we're getting to here is that basically every other possibility is being canceled out by the axiomatic pattern that's arising over that possibility. They're controlling the possibilities directly.
It says of those spaces arising. What's the spaces?
What's up?
In the scan, it says the spaces arising. What's the spaces?
The spaces? Okay, so the possibility spaces. Okay, now I'm going to explain a bit about the garden. The gardener and the winnower come before the garden, but everything I described is housed within the garden, including every axiom within the verse, every philosophy, every axiom is contained ontologically within the.
You got a minute?
What's up?
You got a minute?
So wait, is the garden higher or lower than
Am I being too loud?
Savathûn? I don't know.
You're not being too loud. I was just wondering if you couldn't buy dinner tonight.
Yeah, I could.
I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, I could.
Okay.
All right.
Who's talking? Oh, someone's talking to nothing.
I don't know. I'll get to you about it later. Okay,
Right.
I'm sorry. Basically, what the gardener and the winnower are doing is that they're using their power differently here. They're playing a game with each other. They're limiting the scope of their abilities in this part here, where they cut off possibility spaces. The possibility spaces that you're talking about would be something of the axiom of possibility existing for the pattern. The very axiom, the core itself that you're describing is housed within the garden. They're playing a game within the garden by using that particular axiom directly and seeing what happens in these games. And then within these patterns. So what's happening within the garden is that they're doing this game. Eventually the gardener is like upset and annoyed. And that irritates them. So what happens after that is that eventually they get into a fight. Shocker, right? God fights. Universe is created. Greek lore. But
Greek law, double.
yeah.
Like no one likes the Greek law.
Yeah, no one really
Except
likes
for
Greek lore at all. But
yeah.
So let me go find where's the unveiling. Now I need to go and find the fight that happened in the unveiling. So it's sort of like this. How do you think Destiny works? But with its conceptualization of everything.
Within its conceptualization, everything. So we're going back to like the light and dark side, everything.
What do you think the conceptualization of our discussion that we would take to be? You would consider it Hegelian, yes? Like
Right,
how
can you say that again?
Okay, you know how we create syllogisms and we have dialectical discussions.
Wait, sorry, I just got a phone call. One moment, lads.
All right, that's fine. Oh, good, my mic's working. Okay, so.
This video was sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends.
I know, right? So
Don't forget Blue Chew.
Well,
That too.
yeah.
Sorry.
At least now I can talk about what the gardener and the winnower did.
I'm back now. Sorry to, like I said, I had a phone call from my dad, but go on.
Okay, so what do you think the most fundamental of axioms are? Ignoring possibility and everything else. What do you think the most fundamental ones are?
The light and dark.
Well, no. I'm talking about philosophically here. I'm not talking about.
Oh, philosophically.
Yeah. Destiny,
oh God.
Destiny uses philosophy as its scaling contingent.
All right. So the most. So is this most fundamental or most broad?
Yes,
Sorry.
most fundamental possible.
Fundamental. Give me a moment. I'd probably say the axiom of assumptions, because you need a basis for anything.
Mm-hmm. So now let me get into why this matters. So on the deepest level of philosophy that we'd be analyzing, once we get to eventually ontology, which is the very bottom, now we're arriving at the gardener and the winnower, who exist as principles of ontological dynamics. Like they are ontological dynamics themselves, but they exert it in the form of principle.
Yes.
But now why this matters is because every axiom that we're talking about in Destiny and for fiction, those axioms are in disarray within Destiny. even those axioms can't even determine themselves, because the gardener and the winnower essentially fought and left the garden in havoc, reek. Uh, so everything in Destiny exists within this axiomatic chaos. So it means like logic loops can be defined differently by Destiny characters. It means you can eventually surpass characters and define what math is. It means you can eventually surpass and define what even logic is. Because those axioms are in disarray because the gardener and the winnower fought within the garden. So something like possibility shouldn't exist for the paracausal characters because there is no possibility. They laid waste to it because they laid waste to the garden.
Yes, okay.
But what happened instead is that because the light and dark come from the gardener and the winnower, they can exist without that particular axiomatic set of possibilities that you'd be wanting to remove from Savathûn. When the problem is it's not even there in the first place.
So, if that's not there in the first place, and you have these other statements about possibility with orcs, which is obviously afterwards, then I feel there's a contradiction.
No, because paracausal characters, they create possibilities, and other paracausal characters are able to interact with those possibilities, and then they create new possibilities. Even though the axiom itself is in disarray, they can decide what it is, and they decide how it is through each other, through combat, hacks.
All right.
Right? They decide this very axiom. This is something that every paracausal character can do in every timeline.
All right. So this argument to me, this is like a quick analogy type thing. You know, I'm full of analogies.
Mhm.
So earlier I gave the analogy that possibilities are branches, and thing my character would do would be like removing the seed from ever existing. From what you're saying, it sounds like every branch off a tree was removed. You're saying it's the same as a seed, but removing every branch off a tree does not remove the tree itself. You still got the stump and everything up in the middle.
Okay,
And I think that's what your
here's
character is branching off.
So here's what I'm saying. We, as in Kkrimbus and I, are observing the tree. We're discussing the tree. But the problem is for Destiny, the gardener and the winnower laid waste to that tree. And that everything that came from the tree, the seedlings, the leaves, and the branches, exist on the ground outside of and without the help of the tree. They don't need the tree. So, in essence, they don't need possibility. Because the light and dark, which are fundamentally the winnower and the gardener, decide what it is themselves.
If you could try to speed this along, that'd be fantastic.
All right. So I'll say one more argument. So now I'll just say like one point to this. Nothing. Say one more point. Both conclusions, and then we can have judges. You know, the whole VC. You know. So my last point before we move to conclusion bit. My last point. So when you mentioned like all the possibilities being destroyed within the garden itself does sound like it exists, even if it's laid waste. You said that they go to the ground, like their foundation, the remains were still there at least.
No,
and the remains are
not after the fight. No.
So
I used the tree.
that's different to what you said a second ago.
Well, I used the tree example to say that they can leave the tree, as in the tree isn't there. You'd be trying to remove the tree, but they don't have the tree. They're not even attached to the tree. They have to decide what the tree is.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. But so then just go back to the start of the point of everything was laid waste in the Guardian. Guardian like can give birth to like the possibilities. Therefore, these possibilities like exist. So I don't feel like you're getting rid of a seed. You're just cutting the stump. Like I don't think it's gone back far enough to actually get rid of all the possibilities.
That's because,
so that'd be my last point.
That's because they decide what it is and what they create. So you're arguing that they existed after the tree. But I'm saying they didn't exist. Well, okay, I'm gonna say this. The tree existed before they did. The tree created them, but the tree was then cut off and removed. So they don't need the tree anymore. Now they have to decide what the tree and everything that makes up that tree is. So everything that we're deciding in Destiny terms is still in disarray because the verse itself has to decide what that particular tree is. the possibilities were they existed before other possibilities, but then all those other possibilities were then wiped away along with the garden. And then after that, the possibilities that then existed, aka the multiverse, only existed because the gardener and the winnower had bled light and dark into their creation. It's because the gardener and the winnower exist above the garden is why they don't need the garden.
Right. Is that your last point?
Yes.
Or
Okay,
good.
I'm gonna largely keep it simple for the VC. So the point that Kkrimbus and I was going on was we were talking about this feedback loop, and then I argued.
Oh no, wait, nothing. We can just. I was about to say the next thing was for us to do a conclusion of like the debate. Then we can go to like them. That'd be easier.
Oh, that's fine.
But like, then we also can because it's a conclusion from each of us.
Mm-hmm.
We can state our own like personal views on it.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, okay. So as I said, I'd go first, and you go off. Yeah, I said I'd go first. Like keep them like the pattern of the debate. So my conclusion is debate started off, nothing asked me what hacks I use. I said I'd eat him. We then elaborated on that. I would absorb, he would absorb. We went in a feedback loop. After this feedback loop started, I mentioned the gap my character would have. Nothing agreed that gap is humongous, but then said that what his character would do was increase his rate of change to match mine. We went on about this for quite a while. I didn't find, well, at least personally, I didn't find how this rate of change would increase that much. There was one point where I had to clarify the exponential boosts for nothing. I think he meant it in a different way, but didn't come across quite like that. So after like that was said, I then started going on a different route because obviously like that point's definitely continuing and we need to look at it another way. Another way of looking about it is what if this possibility doesn't exist? Possibility not existing could be because it couldn't happen or because Galactus can remove it. Both of them were addressed. And when it came to Galactus removing it, that's been the tangent of what we're talking about at the moment. Talking about if Galactus removes a possibility that's above our character and above the loop, would your character be able to respond to it? When nothing showed an example of Oryx, we did not get possibility, we got choices. And then we went for the wish. I didn't see a possibility in the way that he was saying it, but we continued regardless. He then brought up the garden, which is above the wish and Oryx, obviously. And when bringing up that one, the creator of axioms, which should include possibility as like a logic thing, I then gave analogies for why I think that it is different to what I am doing. There's my like quick conclusion of nothing. Take the mic.
Okay, so first off, I'm gonna acknowledge my shortcomings right away. So obviously, first there was a couple, actually no, a good few times where him and I was kind of off sync. This might just be from how our verses scale and what the point of our arguments were. But the point was there was contention. It largely did come from my side, also part of it because my mic was being annoying. Also, I'm kind of on a time constraint too, so that's why I kind of sound a little rude, so to speak, in this debate. So I'm very willing to admit those shortcomings right away. Along with everything I just included in that sphere. But for the first point, we got into the absorption, or no, feedback loop. He then talked about his character in the loop and how he could become greater. He gave the example of eating the ship, which is like a solar system, and then going and fighting the Beyonder. So then I had to get into Savathûn, because everything I talked about in the debate was just to show that Savathûn would keep up and stay equal to Galactus within the loop. So it all actually is just one argument. We just went on like a lot of different sub-arguments to define that one, which didn't pan out. But then I eventually had to get into exponential and linears. And it sounded odd because, well, I'll get into that part later. But in Destiny, increases on linear from A to B, but that character can then change their rate of change along with the rate of growth because of their demiurge. Every character in the verse can evolve and then change their powers and keep the ones they had before and gain different ones through getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. An example of this I went and argued was the Witness, because she transcended Oryx. Well, he fucking like the Witness anyhow. But the Witness transcended Oryx and therefore had more and different powers. The point that I got on with the Osmiomancy gauntlets was then to show what Oryx did, and then I went into the Witness to show that she had different powers from Oryx. So the point about Oryx and not having that particular ability was just to show that he has limitations. So I'd be fine with conceding on that because I actually hadn't defined that too well. Because I was actually fine with his contention. It was to show that he had limitations mostly. But going on after that, then I went into the Witness, and that the Witness is basically a much smaller version of the Winnower. And then I had to go into a bit about philosophy and how the very deepest bit of philosophy was ontology itself. So the discussion that Kkrimbus and I would be having, the ontological dynamics of it, everything considered within it, everything considered within this debate, the Gardener and the Winnower would be those very things. Even the axioms themselves that would have to exist before even other axioms were to exist. Everything that we're considering, that we're talking about, the metaphysical exists within the garden. The reason why the garden mattered is because the Gardener and the Winnower fought and essentially laid waste to the garden and essentially doesn't exist anymore. And the reason why that the multiverse existed is because the Gardener and the Winnower themselves were the cause of it, not the garden. The garden existed after them and because of them. It didn't exist for them. So their very beings, very concepts, light and dark, then bled into the multiverse. And then I talked about the pattern and how the Gardener and Winnower played a game, and which eventually led to them getting into the fight because one of them kept getting annoyed at the pattern. And then I had to get, not now for possibility, this is the part that would matter for possibility. He was arguing that he could remove the possibility from Savathûn, as in the very deepest level of it. The problem is, in Destiny terms, Savathûn is not really bound by that particular axiom, because that axiom is in disarray, because that axiom existed within the garden. The Gardener and the Winnower could define whatever they wanted, whether inside or outside the garden, hence why characters like Savathûn can create possibility from nothing. And it's, the philosophy of it goes much, much deeper, but largely the point of what I'm getting at is that the light and dark, because of the nature of how the Destiny multiverse works, can dictate things like possibilities, laws, and rules. And so Savathûn, because of that, would be able to keep up with and remain equal to Galactus within the loop. Even though he'd get greater power increases, her trickery over the Witness should already show that even though she had no such possibility of doing so, without the Witness even lifting a finger or having to cast the ability, still managed to trick the Witness. This happens all the time whenever characters in Destiny initiate the sword logic against each other. Well, whether it's us against Rolk or us against Oryx. So that's mostly what my conclusion is. I'm not going to say anything else because it'd be a waste of time. So go ahead and judge, because I got ahead and end the recording and get going. So tell me what you think after.
All right. So judges was like literally everyone in the VC who